If you've ever lost a pet, then you know how much it hurts. It's like losing a family member, a very hairy family member who can't drive or, well, shouldn't drive. Heartwarming stories of pets returning home to their owners after they were thought to be lost forever. 11 pets who returned home after being lost. Number 11. Nigel. Darren Chick, a Californian-based Brit, had to suffer through the heartache of losing his beloved pet parrot back in 2010. Nigel, the parrot, had just started learning how to talk and would even mimic Darren's British accent flawlessly. One day, Nigel just upped and flew away, never to be found. 4 years went by, and miraculously, someone came across Nigel and took him to a vet. After scanning his microchip, Nigel found his way back to Darren. Interestingly, Nigel no longer spoke English or with a British accent like Darren, but instead spoke an entirely new language, Spanish. It turned out that a family had bought Nigel at a yard sale for $400 shortly after he disappeared. Following his televised reunion with Nigel, the Smith family, who had been housing Nigel all that time, contacted Darren and shared their side of the story. Touched that Nigel had become an invaluable companion to the Smiths' old grandfather, Ruben Hernandez, Darren took Nigel, now called Morgan, back to the Smiths. 10. Reckless. When Hurricane Sandy struck in 2012, New Jersey residents Chuck and Alicia James were amongst the people whose property suffered from damage. Their backyard fence came down, allowing Reckless, their terrier pit bull mix, to escape. Weeks went by, and after searching proved effortless, the heartbroken couple resigned to the thought that Reckless must have passed away. 1.5 years later, the couple was ready to welcome a new dog into their life. They went down to a local animal shelter, and much to their surprise, Reckless was there. Now named Lucas, Reckless recognized them and leapt up into the air immediately when he saw them. They were also able to positively identify him through a telltale scar on his head, and needless to say, the long companions were reunited. 9. Alfie. The tale of how Alfie the cat came back to life reads much like pages from Stephen King's Salem's Lot. In 2009, England native Angelo Petrillo came across the grave scene of a cat that had tragically been run over near his home. Believing that it was his beloved orange Tom, Alfie, they buried him. The Petrillo family shortly after moved just a mile away from their Milnrow, Greater Manchester home. 9 months down the line, a former neighbor called and told the Petrillos that he saw a ginger cat attempting to get inside their old home. Perplexed, the family went to look into the incident, and there was Alfie. He was markedly chubbier than before, which meant that someone had been feeding him. The family has never been able to solve the mystery about whose cat ended up buried in their backyard and where Alfie had wandered off to all that time. 8. Bucky. Imagine the thought of giving up your beloved pooch because your community bans pets. That is precisely what happened to Mark Wessels of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Because he would have had to move otherwise, Mark made the tough decision to leave Bucky in the care of his father, who lived in Virginia. Not so long after, Bucky went missing from his father's home, and Wessels braced himself for the worst. One day, Greg Gallagher, a Myrtle Beach resident, came upon a dog wandering through his community. He took it home, fed it back to health, and took him to a veterinarian. The vet scanned Bucky's microchip and discovered that the dog belonged to Wessels. After calling the dog Bucky, he went nuts, barking with joy, and that removed any shadow of a doubt that it was Wessels' dog. Gallagher contacted Wessels, who picked up Bucky and was able to keep him in his Myrtle Beach home. Turns out Bucky used his sense of smell and direction to travel all the way from Virginia back to Myrtle Beach. 7. Holly. Scores of pets go missing while on vacation, and that is how Bonnie and Jacob Richter lost Holly, their family cat. While vacationing at Daytona Beach in 2012, Holly got frightened by fireworks and took off. After days spent searching for her, the couple had to go back to their West Palm Beach home. 63 days later, Barb Mazzola, a West Palm resident, came across an emaciated cat in her yard. Mazzola took the cat to the vet, and its microchip revealed that it was the Richter's cat. Experts believe that Holly made the 190-mile walk from Daytona Beach to find her way back to the Richters. An unusual feat for a cat, but Holly must have been very determined to get back home. Number 6. Crockett. Sometimes an act of charity can prove unfortunate, and that is how Bill and Pauline Lowe ended up losing their cat. The Corringham, England couple donated 2 couches to a Gray's Essex charity shop. One of the sofas required the Lowes to disassemble it to get it outside their house and then reassemble it afterward. They had soon after noticed that Crockett, their cat, went missing, but they could not figure out what might have happened to him. That couch made its way to a new home, and a day later, the new owners heard a cat purring from within. After having to rip off the couch material, they discovered Crockett hidden inside. Despite having been lodged inside the couch for several days, Crockett was well, and he was soon reunited with the Lowes. Number 5. Andy. Andy, the tortoise, dug out of his cage and escaped from his Brunton, Northumberland home. The incident saddened her 7-year-old owner, Ella, and her father believed that Andy had plummeted into a nearby stream and would never be seen again. 1 year down the line, a family friend saw a tortoise walking near Ella's home. Hearing an announcement about the lost pet at school, Ella divulged that she had lost her pet tortoise the previous year. She then identified the little guy as her lost pet. The conclusion had it that Andy made a slow trek across a busy railroad and 3 pastures holding cattle to make it back to Ella's home. Number 4. Suka. The Iwate Prefecture in Japan experienced a tsunami in March 2011. It carried Suka, a cat, away from her home, and owners Kazuko and Takeo Yamagishi did not have time to search for her when being evacuated from the area. Following the aftermath, the couple went back home and could not trace the whereabouts of their cat. After 3 months spent searching, the couple gave up and believed that they would never see her again. 3 years later, a hiking couple came across a cat in a forest not too far from the Yamagishi home. They rescued her from a tree, and a charm hanging on her collar contained the Yamagashi's contacts. The mystery of what happened to Suka during the tsunami and how she ended up curled up in the tree still remains unsolved. 3. Willow. Willow, the cat, found her way out of her Boulder, Colorado home in 2006. Contractors working on renovations left a door open where the cat made its escape. Owners Chris and Jamie Squires believe that a Rocky Mountains predator must have preyed on their cat by then. Imagine the couple's surprise when they got a call informing them that Willow had been found 1,000 miles away in New York City. Willow had been wandering the Manhattan streets when he was rescued and taken to a veterinarian. His microchip revealed his identity, and his story soon became buzzworthy news. The Today Show paid for the Squires' flight cost to New York for an exclusive on the story. Willow soon became a celebrity, and no one can piece together just how she managed to make it all the way to the Big Apple. The then New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg said that cats reputedly have 9 lives, and Willow chose to spend one of them in the city. Number 2. Opie. In 2003, Eureka, Arkansas native Michelle Poole checked into the hospital for back surgery. While she recovered, Michelle decided to have her father, who lived in San Antonio, Texas, watch over her horse, Opie. Michelle's father kept Opie in his enclosed pasture because he did not have a stable. One night, someone cut through the fence of the enclosure and stole the horse. Poole launched a search after finding out what had happened. She went down to the local sheriff's office, put up flyers, and even took her case to the Stolen Horse International, an organization that assists with such situations. 10 years later, Poole received an incredible call that Opie had been found. Deanna Bordelon wanted to buy a horse for her 13-year-old daughter and stumbled across a saddlebred listing on Craigslist. Bordelon found the seller's story quite convoluted because the seller claimed that a pastor gave her the horse. The pastor then alleged that another man who found it wandering around Dayton, Texas, gave it to him. Borderline contacted the authorities after she positively identified the horse as Opie. In what looked like a scene from an old Western movie, the authorities hired a team of contract cowboys to seize the horse. No charges came up against anyone, and Poole was just happy to have Opie back. Number 1. Charles. Robin Alex, a resident of Albuquerque, New Mexico, lost her cat Charles in 2009. She had left the feline at home for a Habitat for Humanity house-building mission. Upon returning home, she discovered that Charles was nowhere to be found. 8 months down the line, a Chicago animal care and control facility called and told her that they had picked up Charles. The bad news, besides her cat ending up 1,300 miles away, was that the facility planned to euthanize the cat if she did not pick him up in 6 days. Robin could not afford to make the round trip to pick her cat, and the local news ran the story, which shortly went national. Robin took advantage of the news coverage and asked for help from anyone who might be traveling to the Windy City. The story moved Lucien Sims, a fellow Albuquerque resident, after his mother forwarded him Robin's story online. Because he was heading to Chicago for a wedding, Sims volunteered to get Charles and bring him back home. American Airlines chimed in and waived the cat's travel fees, and another business also donated a pet carrier, all to see Charles get back home to his owner. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press that subscribe button. Coming up next, 17 animals that saved people's lives. Eduardo Serio was petting the white lions in a wildcat enclosure in Mexico when Dharma the leopard started stalking him. Luckily, he had someone protecting him, the tiger Aslan. Although the leopard may have been playing, it is a quick progression from play to predator when dealing with wild animals.